The only thing I had memory going to church as a little boy was once. But most of the time I spent going to the football game with my dad, who owned the football team at the time. And as I grew up, at the age of 9, something happened terrible. My parents separated. And I had to leave Mamelodi to go and stay in Winterveld. Now, if you have never been to Tenmok and Winterveld, then you don't understand rural areas in South Africa. It's dead road, dead everything. I had to move out of the township, go and live in a very, very rural and difficult place. I had to learn to walk, I don't know how many miles or kilometers to school, when the school was just in the neighborhood. Living that life, as I grew up, when I turned about 12, 13, I started to have hunger for God, and there were no evangelical churches, quickly. So I joined one of the churches, confirmed, became what people know as Litodana. Then the gospel started to move into the area. I heard about Jesus for the first time in 1977. But I responded, there was no follow-up. And quickly, my cousin brother got saved. He witnessed to me, personal soul winning. That's how I came to know the Lord.
That's it, Werner, there you go.
And the challenge was, when I got saved, there was no church that you could go to where you can grow as a Christian. So we're just young people getting saved at the SCM, Student Christian Movement. But God challenged us to start a church. We had no building, so we used to meet under the tree, Marula tree. That was our church. So on rainy days we didn't have church, but when this normal day would have church. And that's how I grew up as a Christian. Growing up, we needed a church building, and there was this pastor who heard about us, came, organizers, and I remember we'd be coming from, at the time I was at high school, so we'd come from high school, ask the ladies in the village, please don't throw away your dirty water, save them for us. So we started making bricks with mud, and we built a very small church. It became the first Baptist church in Winterveld. And that was built by these young people, a group of young people. The oldest, I think, among us at the time was about 25. That would be an eldest person. And people resented the gospel. They hated this new thing. They didn't love us because we're talking repentance. And you'd know somebody who's freshly converted. We were rough. The preachings were hard. Fast forward quickly. And then what happened was how I got called. God called me, but I didn't understand that. I said, no, I want to go to teaching so that I can witness to students. And that happened indeed. But while I was teaching, one day, because I was making a problem for teachers at school, when I would have assembly, the principal will run away, teachers will run away. The hot gospel from the assembly would make them feel uncomfortable. One day, one of them who belonged to Short Left Church, you understand Short Left, said to me, you are causing trouble. God is calling you, stop bothering us. And I realized God was calling me. If God is going to talk to me from somebody who's at ZCC, it means it's serious. I had to resign from school, go train. I became a teacher and a pastor. Went back to the rural areas. God said, you're going to go to churches that can't pay pastors. You work as a teacher, you pastor, pay yourself. I pastored those churches for some years. And there was a need to start a Bible college in our denomination. All people with high qualification wanted big salary. They all declined. I had to resign from teaching, resign my post as an HOD, go and start Bible college. I was then moved to become the general secretary of our church. But remember where I came from. And while I was general secretary of our church, 2006, we were in Kenya. They needed a president for all the Baptists in Africa. And one Christian, one Baptist pastor came to me and said to me, God said something's going to happen, just be ready. And I wasn't ready, but I got elected as president of all Africa. All Africa would consist with almost like 12 million Baptists in Africa, stretching from up north down south. And I served in that position for 5 years. I got elected as one of the vice presidents of World Alliance. The World Alliance is a fellowship of Baptists all over the world. 121 countries in the world. Now this is a very conservative figure. We're counting 60 million, but we're far over that as Baptists in the world. The Baptists brag about being the largest Protestant church. And so, coming from a rural area, with no credentials of qualifying to be in that. And when in 2014, I was then elected as president of the World Alliance. I share this with humility, and I share this as a message of trying to follow the theme of today. God is in need of leaders. Yes. Certain things that we need to make right. And as I conclude, number one is that most of us think that God wants people who have certain credentials. You need to work, you need to get qualifications, you need those. But do not measure God's appointment in your life with what you think you have. The second thing that I wish just to share with you as I hand over the mic is that in this position, I've learned one lesson. If you want to serve God as a leader, learn to be a small leader with a great God. Don't become a great leader with a small God. Because a small God can be manipulated. A small God can be used to threaten people. A small God becomes your standing platform to brag about. But when you are a small leader with a great God, you always rely on God. You learn to trust God every day of your life. And when you do that, it doesn't matter where God places you. The position where I am, I travel the whole world. I speak and preach the gospel the whole world. When I mean the whole world, I mean the whole world. And when I look at my background, where I come from, I still study, but I still study. You need to help me get my PhD quickly. Okay. I'm still at school, I'm registered. But one thing I realize is when God has put something in you, take care of it. Use it. And how I came to know Brother David, we, as young people, that very same SCM group, we started a crusade movement. We were traveling young, oh my goodness. The whole South Africa would go to what they used to call Deaf Row 40, preaching at universities and at college. And one day we were in a very rural area, Danielton. And then came these very smart two young people, dressed so smart. It was Brother Shaman and Brother Abner. You don't know the name Shaman. My God, we fell in love. And so it has been many years since when he came back to the country and I saw Dr. David Mulap on TV, I got cross, I said, man, how can Shaman come change his name? I didn't know that you're David. I told people, I know this is my brother. Oh, that's Dr. David Mulap. You don't know. You know some Shaman that you He's a great brother. And I want to just say thank you, Brother, for just giving me this opportunity. Most people don't know denominational leaders, you know, because in the position where I am, I'm operating, is the same as the Pope in Rome. Wow. I don't have a driver, I drive myself. I don't have security, nobody carries my bag, I carry my bag. When I go to conference of denominational leaders, it's where you meet all the popes and the president of the big denominations in the world. But what does it say? Somebody said this one. God is looking to Africa to lead the world. Be ready.